Hello and welcome to the video. Today is quite a fun day because Speedybee are finally releasing their bind and fly versions based on their very nice Mario 5 V2 frame. Now I built something similar to this about a year ago. Go and check that out. Interestingly, they're using the same flight controller, the same ESC, the same frame. In fact, a very similar setup all round, really. And I can attest to how well those components have performed. Although this is the bind and fly version that I've gotten to show you, that my original one that I built in that series is still going strong. I actually converted it to iNav, put a GPS on the back. It carries GoPros, it carries action cameras, it's my go-to system, put walk snail in there as well. I absolutely love it, and it's still performing beautifully 12 months after I built the thing. In fact, it's one of the ones that always goes in the bag if I'm going to the field and want to fly a quad. So it's fun to see that if you don't want to follow a series like that, get the soldering iron out and learn all about beta flight and setup and all those kind of wacky things, there's now options directly from Speedybee using all their technology. And this now represents the final part, I think, of Speedybee's journey from a manufacturer of little bits of pieces. Things like, you know, the stuff that used to plug into flight controllers to give you wireless access and little doohickeys for the bench, into full systems like this, where not only the frame, flight controller, the ESCs, the GPS, but even the motors are actually now Speedybee branded. There are two versions in this, so I thought while I had one in, unfortunately I've not had it here long enough to get any flights on it yet, although I'll probably do a separate flight video and show you how to set it up for Express LRS. This one here is the Mario 5 kit that has come with the DJI O3 unit in it. That's an interesting thing, I think, because most of the stuff that's built for the DJI O3 system doesn't come with a kit. Nice to see that Speedybee is shipping that as well. Does make the overall cost of the thing quite expensive because you're having to buy the O3 unit at the same time, but it does mean in terms of all the faffing about doing the wiring and setting it all up, it kind of comes ready out the box. But the O3 unit, I've heard on the grapevine, is becoming end of life anyway. But the nice thing about this frame is that there's easy enough room to put whatever enclosure here at the back for whatever the O4 replacement looks like. So the headlines for this new quad are that this feels like it's a full realization of the Speedybee technology stack. It's the frame, it's their now branded motors, flight controllers, ESCs. The only thing that isn't in here that isn't Speedybee, I guess, is going to be the O3 air unit. It's the same Mario 5 frame that I used just about a year ago to build my own version of it. I used the compressed X version. This is the dead cat style that I've also shown on the channel. And there's loads of room in here for the flight controller, the ESC sack, the VTXs, and there's even a spot underneath for the receiver and a great little spot for the capacitor too. There's loads of really cute little touches in here in a frame that doesn't break the bank if you want to build your own quad. These bind and flies are available in two different versions, both that compressed X that I love and also this dead cat style, which is actually really great for filming, make sure the props are well out the way. And I'm still using the same setup that I built here over a year ago. It's one of my go-to quads. It's a bit of an everyman. It'll pretty much do everything. And to be able to buy something like this without having to go through 7 or 8 videos and build it yourself means that for those pilots that don't want to learn how everything works and just wants to buy it and fly it, there's that option. Motors on this are motors I've not seen before. These are the B-Storm 2306.5 motors designed for smooth 6S flying. And of course, it's got all the usual goodness. You can access everything via the Speedybee app and you can configure stuff too, which means that at the field or even just on the bench, you can change the way everything is configured, which is a lifesaver at the field and very, very handy if you just want to tweak a setting. And because this is the Mario 5 kit that I've got here, it does have the O3 mount at the back, which is also a heatsink, which allows the heat dissipation from the O3 air unit and allows it to fly a bit longer without it overheating. It's going to be interesting to see how that changes, as I've already heard from another manufacturer that DJI has told them that the O3 air unit is end of life. There are two versions of this bind and fly quad. There's the power and the kit. Again, this is the kit here. They both use the F405 V4 flight controller controller like I did in my build last year. They both use the BLS 55 amp 4-in-1 ESC, which again I used last year and is still going strong. Motors again are the B-Storm 2306.5 Pro on both of them. In the power unit there isn't any FPV stuff, however in this Mario 5 kit variant there is the GGI 03 air unit. Props are HQ J40 on both. GPS is optional. This one has come with it on it, and I personally would recommend putting that on and also enabling the rescue mode. It's going to fly home to you. That's not how it's been shipped. The receiver is set up by default for some kind of CRSF receiver. I imagine for most pilots these days getting into the hobby, that's going to be Express LRS. There is a little port at the bottom that allows you to plug it in, and there's even that cable in the box that allows you to solder that onto the Express LRS receiver. Maximum speed they're advertising as 190 kilometers an hour, and they reckon the flight time is going to be between 9 or 10 minutes, depending on how you fly it. And you're going to need a 6S 1300 to 1500 milliamp hour pack. Now, one of the things I was interested in was to take it apart and have a look inside at how well everything is put together. You can tell a lot by how nicely everything is terminated, the cables are cut to the right length, and how good the soldering is. And I'm very pleased to report that everything in here is the quality that I would do it here. I'm a bit of a stickler for making sure that things are neat and done really, really well, and I haven't got anything that I would pick up on here. This is the level that I would expect from something like an armor tank quad back when it was Chris making them out in China, and this is actually really, really good stuff. I think there are lots of us who would like to be able to solder this well. And because I want to plug it into Betaflight on my laptop in order to show you the configuration, while I've got it apart, I can swing the side plates out the way that do have the LEDs installed. Unfortunately, there isn't any access to the USB port on the flight controller unless you take a lot of the frame apart. I think it would have been nice if this piece could have swung out so that if you did need to get to it because something wasn't working with the app, then you could get access. But with that open and the cable plugged in, we can look at Betaflight. Again, I'm not expecting anything really surprising in here because, to be honest, this is a flight controller and ESC stack that I know quite well and I actually really rate. So everything's working there on the desk. Fantastic. Let's go into ports. So we can see that UART1 is being used for the display port for the 03 air unit. Serial receiver is on UART2, which is where it needs to be in order to use the 03 S-Bus stuff. GPS is on UART6. Interesting, only set for 57600, but that should still work fine. Configuration, 8K gyro, 4K PID loop frequency. This is an F405 based flight controller here, so that means that the CPU load is running about 43%, so it's running at a reasonable level with those high rates. And then everything else looks pretty standard, to be honest. The beacon tone on this one, just be aware, they've changed it for the final production shipment. This review unit has come with a slightly different startup tone, so just be aware of that. This is what the power and battery looks like. Failsafe is set to drop. Again, I would heartily recommend set it to GPS rescue, make sure that works. If you're going to have one of these, particularly if it's got some DJI kit on it, you're going to be flying quite a lot of money, so be careful of that. PID tuning looks like this. Let's just have a quick look at the rate profile too. Again, dump and differ below if you want to have a look how it's actually shipped here. Receiver by default is set to CRSF. CRSF is really for that port at the bottom that you can plug into your Express LRS receiver. And then the modes are set up more for Express LRS. So if you are using the 03A unit, you're probably going to have to come in and tweak things. Again, I'm not sure if this is the final version of how everything's going to be set up because there's a bit of difference. GPS has a lock, which is great. On-screen display is a little bit cluttered. I would probably come in here and change things around. We all have our particular way of how you like it laid out. This, to me, looks incredibly cluttered, so I would come in here and have a play. Again, dump and diff are down below. So it really feels to me like Speedybee are completing its transition from a maker of little cute devices to a manufacturer of fully fledged hobby grade quads. And it's nice to see something like this because rather than some of the stuff I've had in recently, which, you know, feels like they're selling it to the hobby, but actually they've manufactured it for something else, this feels like a fully realized hobby grade quad. There are lots of things I like about this, but then I'm going to, because let's be honest, I built one about a year ago. I've had nothing but fantastic experience with it, and this allows those of you that don't want to go through that building process to basically get one off the shelf without having to get a soldering iron. There are lots of things I like. I like the packaging, believe it or not. I didn't mention it when I was showing you the video, but the little motor shaft protectors are a fantastic idea, and make sure that those hollow shafts on those little storm motors aren't going to be damaged. I wish more vendors did that when they ship stuff. The quality of the manual and the documentation is excellent. Speedybee are really starting to take the crown from people like Brain FPV, in my opinion, for some top drawer manuals. They're very easy to read. There are lots of graphics and lots of information in here about how you set things up, how you change the ports if you're going to use CRSF versus the O3 air unit. It's really good. Well done, Speedybee. Please keep that up. Again, I like the fact that they have thought about the different options for different pilots. Some pilots will have the goggles for the DJI system, but not the controller. Some of us, like me, for example, when I fly this, I'm going to use it with an Express LRS receiver with the O3 air unit. And that means that my little boxer radio and the goggles are what I'll need. So I'll need to put in an Express LRS receiver into the little bay here at the back. There's a great place to clip the antenna into position, and there's that little cable I can solder onto it, which will make setup a breeze. I do like the build quality. It is very good and well made. This has been built by somebody who actually knows what they're doing, that's had some training. The soldering is excellent. All the cables are clipped to the right length. Everything is super neat. Again, this is how I would build it, and I've been building them for a long time, and I don't like messy builds. They just create problems further down the road. This is really top drawer and what I'd expect from a premium product. The frame, yeah, of course I like the frame. I've talked about this a couple of times in the video already. I really like the frame. I put in both the compressed X, but also this dead cat version as well. I did the compressed X because that came out first. If I was doing it now, I would probably do it with the dead cat. And all of the bells and whistles are on here as well. We have the LEDs in the side. We have the GPS at the back. There's a beeper in here as well. And those lights and that beeper are going to help with recovery if you get into trouble. But personally, I would come in here and change things like the default mode being rescue with the GPS installed. I'm guessing that this review unit has had the GPS installed on it when they shipped it. However, I would recommend if you're going to get one of these, order it and fit it and make sure that the rescue mode in Betaflight is turned on. And that's only one of about 3 nitpicks I've got about this, and they are kind of nitpicks at this point. The other 2 would be there isn't any toolless access to the USB port as I've shown. You do need to take a lot of the frame apart in order to open that up. Just be aware of that. However, in reality, you can do most of the stuff with a Speedybee app and a tablet over Bluetooth or Wi-Fi anyway. And from what I've seen so far, again, I'm recording this in advance of it being released, I can't see analog, walk snail or HD0 versions. And with the news that I've heard on the grapevine that DJI are telling some vendors that the O3A unit is end of life, what does that mean for this in the long term? The good news is that there is so much space in the back of this that you can install anything that you want really, and all Speedybee would have to do would be, if the O4 air unit is slightly different in size, redesign this metal piece at the back to fit. So in summary, if you like the look of what I built last year, but you didn't want to go through this hassle of actually building and sourcing the components and making your own, you don't have to. You can just buy one off the shelf. Again, 2 versions available as they're shipping it right now. The Mario 5 Power is the one that basically doesn't have the O3 air unit in it. And then you have the Mario 5 kit, which is what this is, which also has the DJI O3 air unit. But again, I would personally recommend get the GPS, pop that in the back and set it for GPS rescue, and then if something happens, it'll come back to you. But well done, Speedybee. They continue to impress. Let's see what the next thing is they bring out. And I'm just waiting now for some nicer weather to take this out for a fly, and when I do, I'll probably post some flying footage. Thank you for watching my video. Check out the playlist, and adding Painless 360 to your search terms will help you find my content. If you haven't done so already, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. You can support the time I spend here answering questions and helping others by using the links in the video description.